All right. I think we're finally recording.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. Well, foodies, booze people, desserts, anybody that really is related to food. Welcome to the BDSM podcast. I am Professor Porkloin, and I'm here with my lovely co-host.
The Meat Viking.
And we are going to start a journey for the next so many episodes. And I hope that everybody's going to enjoy this. I think it's going to be fun. And I think I'm going to thoroughly enjoy going around the country and hitting every state. So we're going to do it alphabetically. And then we're going to kind of talk about some of the things that are food wise, whether it's desserts, breakfast, it's whatever we can come up with. And we're going to chat about that. So I
hmm
think this is going to be a pretty cool thing. What do you think?
I think it's going to be a cool thing too, and we still will have not like state-based things in between. Um,
Yeah.
that way, it's not just like 50 episodes of this, but it's kind of something that sometimes we end up having real life things go on, and we need to change the topic, and this is something that we can hopefully do, and you guys hopefully enjoy.
Yeah. So if you look at the calendar alphabetically, it is Alabama. So we are going to be talking about Alabama today. I was just recently there a couple weeks back, went to Gulf Shores. Super fun, super cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alabama is numero uno. So I guess before we start, man, we got a couple things to get through. So what do you think should be the safe word for today? I was thinking of another state because it also was pretty funny. Oklahoma.
Yeah.
If you watched Jackass back in the early 2000s, they had the one where they brought him into the dominatrix, and Oklahoma was his safe word, and they would whip the crap out of him, and he kept on screaming Oklahoma. So I
I'm down
figured
for
that
that.
I figure since it's another state, we're not going to be talking about it. That if we say Oklahoma, it's not a bad thing. So,
Yeah. And after the year 2020, by the time we get to Oklahoma, we could just say Tiger King for the safe word for that episode.
oh my God, yeah, yeah, that works. We'll
No.
we'll get to Oklahoma. We'll say Tiger King for all the people out there. So, now that we got that squared away, what's in your cup for today?
So, late Christmas present from good friend of mine up here. It is a Goose Island bourbon or brand stout. Stout aged in bourbon barrels. This is their original recipe, limited run. They only do a couple of these a year, and I was fortunate enough to be gifted this for Christmas from him.
Oh, that's awesome. I
Yeah.
love the Goose Island ones. I've had a few of theirs. What is that, like 14% or 15%? Something stupid high.
Uh,
They usually run pretty potent.
1 pint develops in the bottle for up to 5 years. Uh,
Doesn't have ABV on it.
I thought I saw it. Oh yeah, 14.6 ABV.
I thought so, almost 15%. Yeah, they're usually around that ABV. So, well, cool, man. I am gonna go a little bit more, not so much on the beer side, but I have some of that tequila from a couple weeks ago. So shout out to Titanium Tequila. You got some really cool sipping stuff, and I totally recommend anybody that wants to get that. Look for it. It's about $32 for a bottle, so mid price tequila, but something that you can throw maybe an ice cube in and sip on that, and it really is a nice clean tequila. They have a couple different brands. They have the clear. They've got the añejo. So by all means, give it a shot. And Titanium Tequila, if you ever hear this, by all means, you can send me any bottles. I will sponsor. We can be sponsored,
Right.
although that doubt that would happen, but you never know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Oh, and for those who want to know, I am smoking another Rocky Patel LB1 cigar that we had talked about earlier in the previous episode.
if you want to know more about that, shoot back to one of the previous episodes.
I
You
think it
can
was
learn more
either
about
last
that.
week or the week before.
I don't know. It depends on which one and when we uploaded it. So
Yeah, that's
when we
true.
recorded an upload. So it could have been a week ago or 2 weeks ago. One of those.
Yep. It's how the internet works, sadly.
Yeah. Well, let's jump right into it, man. So Alabama, have you ever been there?
In passing, but didn't really get the chance to stop.
So I'm going to say that as a no, unless you decided to go to Florida or something.
Well, I've been to Florida before, but that was when I was younger. So, in passing, I've probably been through Alabama.
Okay. I've been to Alabama a couple times, even driving up towards my parents. But the last one that I went to, Gulf Shore, super fun, very beachy town. Totally recommend anybody going. Definitely check that out. Get yourself an apartment or get yourself an Airbnb. You'll totally like it. But they have some really cool foods. And obviously, I enjoy the foods and I enjoy the history of it. So one of the first ones that I found, and I don't know if you can talk to some of this, but I found out that cheese grits are a really, well, let's just say grits in general, not necessarily cheese, because I feel like grits can be added with so many different things.
Right.
You know, you could have cheese. Typically, I see it with like shrimp, or I see it with other things. So it's basically been a staple in Southern diets for as long as we can remember, because the Native Americans back in like the 16th century, they basically were having a smaller form of grits. You know, they would take the corn and they'd, basically pound it down and they would boil it. So they actually taught the settlers to how to eat that. So it's really cool how grits have been around for a little bit of some time, and the fact that it was basically for poor people for the longest time because it was super cheap. But now you see it in like 5-star restaurants. You see it in, hey, you're gonna have a 8-course meal and we're gonna serve you some grits. So I don't know if you heard anything else with some of your research about anything with grits, but
I mean, I kind of assumed, if you're going to be in the South or doing anything Southern like that, grits is going to be on there because, like you said, it's a super staple food. And the one that I see popped up is baked grits. I'm not sure how they make that, but it's supposed to be one of the most amazing eats in Alabama is their baked grits.
so typically with grits though, you're supposed to cook them with butter and milk. So what is the baked grits? Does that mean that they cook it normally and then they throw it into the oven and bake it for a while? Like, did you happen to find out what any of that stuff was?
Sadly, no. The information that I pulled up was mainly just like a top list of if you're in Alabama, this is what you want to try. Um, Baked grits was number one on that list. So unfortunately, I don't have a recipe in front of me right now. Let me see if I can find one though.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, only because, like I said, I mean, last time I made grits, and this has been a hot minute ago, definitely throw in the butter and the milk, and you let it cook up, and it almost is like a mashed potato type of consistency. So I wonder if you make it that way, and then you throw it in the oven for, let's just say 15 minutes, maybe it gets a little crust on that. Have you ever done like not like a shepherd's pie, but what's the pie that usually has the hamburger and then they put mashed potatoes on top and you get a little golden crust? Have you ever had that?
I thought that was called a shepherd's pie,
Is
bud.
that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah. You had me
Thought so.
confused. So, in this recipe that I pulled up, you've got your milk, you've got your butter, 1 cup of uncooked grits, salt, white pepper, cup of shredded cheddar cheese, third cup of butter, and half a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. Preheat your oven to 350, lightly grease a medium baking sheet. Um, bring all your stuff to a boil like you would normally when doing grits.
Okay.
Transfer that to a baking dish. sprinkle the Parmesan cheese on top, and then you bake it for an hour in the oven.
Okay. So it's kind of, so you start everything the way you normally would, and then
Yeah,
throw it into the oven, let it bake, and then you'd probably get a nice little crust on top and then serve it.
right.
Probably serve it with a little bit more butter on top, right?
Uh, I mean,
What's a little bit more butter when you've already thrown a whole stick in, right?
right. And you know, like when you come from the region of Paula Deen, you know you're adding more butter anyways.
Yeah. Instead of one stick, just add two.
Right.
It's
Hey.
like garlic, man. Like you never measure garlic. You always just do that with the heart,
Yep.
right? Like if it says, "Hey, you put 2 cloves of garlic," you know that that's wrong. You put 4 or 5 cloves in.
Yep.
So butter, same way.
Oh yeah. Heck, I even add butter when I cook my steaks. So.
Yeah, throw a little bit of some thyme and some rosemary in that.
Mm-hmm.
Let that do a little thing. Yeah.
Yeah, what I've been doing, cast iron skillet. This is off topic. I'm sorry, but we might just leave it in there anyways. But like, you get yourself a nice T-bone, cast iron skillet, oil that down, turn that flame up on that oven real hot, and then let it go until that oil starts steaming. That's when you know you're about hot enough. Just throw the T-bone in there after it's been seasoned. 3 minutes one side, 3 minutes the other, and then I take it off the heat. I throw butter, rosemary, thyme in there, and then I just let that marinate off off the flame.
Well, you know what? That kind of fits into one of the next things that I was going to talk about, and I think you did a little bit of research too. But I was really surprised of a barbecue white sauce.
Now, the second item on this list is called chicken and white sauce for the most amazing eats in Alabama.
Yeah, I actually looked some of that stuff up too, and I found out that Alabama is like the home of the barbecue white sauce.
Ooh.
So
You I'm sure a lot of people out there haven't had this white sauce you're speaking of. You want to correlate with that?
yeah, so I mean, a little bit of a history with it. I mean, it's from a guy in Decatur, Alabama. He discovered a whole bunch of different stuff because he was doing a bunch of barbecue, and I guess it's Big Bob Gibson. So anybody that's ever come through Decatur, I guess about 55,000 people, and it is the birthplace of the famous barbecue sauce. So essentially, what happened is that he was doing all this barbecue. He was putting it on the pit, and chicken. He found out that chicken he would put on for like 3 hours longer than normal, and he didn't want to dry out any of the birds. So he had to find a way to make sure that they'd still keep their moisture while they're still going and that extra time. And he needed something that had to go with a little bit more fat content so that it was not going to dry out any of the chicken. And essentially, he wound up mixing everything with mayonnaise. And mayonnaise is the main ingredient of that white sauce.
Yep.
And that's how he came up with the whole entire thing. Vinegar gave him his favorite barbecue flavor. The mayonnaise wound up keeping his chickens from drying out. And there you go. It was born as the white barbecue sauce. So apparently for decades now, this is the way that it's been going. It's a vinegar and mayonnaise sauce, and it's pretty much a regional thing for North Alabama, but you can see it all over the country.
Mm-hmm. And I pulled up like the tasting notes of this white barbecue sauce, and it's tangy, peppery, and you get a little bit of bite because a lot of places will throw in horseradish in there. So it's not sweet like most barbecue sauces you would think of, but almost more savory.
So I also read a little bit too that the guy Gibson, he died in 74, so he's been dead for a while, and that he never protected his recipe. It's not like he put a copyright or did any type of, hey, infringement stuff on that one. So it's interesting to see that people have worked at that barbecue joint and they've kind of gone on and done their own thing afterwards. And even family members who have been there, they have put their own spin on things. So apparently there's a lot of people that know the recipe, and there's a lot of versions of this barbecue white sauce. So I find that to be really cool that the guy didn't protect his sauce.
Yeah.
And it seems like today, everybody, if you find something, you got to protect it because someone's going to knock it off.
Yep.
And if you knock it off, that means it's going to cut off into your profits and blah blah blah. But I feel like some things like that is a way for it to grow and continue changing and getting better flavors, because this guy started out with the vinegar mayonnaise, right? But now you were telling me that people are putting horseradish in it and giving a little bit more of a tangy stuff. I bet you someone probably put other type of chilies in there to give it a little bit more of a hot kick to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really cool that you're seeing this white sauce and it's coming all over the country, and it came from that dude, and he was the one that didn't say, hey, I don't want to limit people from their culinary expertise.
Yeah, that's a good dude in my book.
Yeah, so you probably, if you're going out and you hear it anywhere, you might hear it as called as the Alabama white sauce.
Yep.
Just because, I mean, it was made in Alabama, but you might just hear barbecue white sauce. So I like to try all those different things. So even with regular barbecue sauce, like I like to try the different flavors and variations, but it really is an all-purpose one, because it's still a vinegar based, and you're going to get a nice acidic flavor from that vinegar, but then that mayonnaise is going to kind of smooth that out. And I feel like people who have some type of weird mayonnaise, like not addiction, but like a fear, I wouldn't worry about it because it's going to cook and it's going to feel nice and good. Because I know some people that are like, mayo is gross, I'm not even going to touch it. But I bet you that you could probably serve that to someone and then say, hey, this is just a white barbecue sauce, and they wouldn't even know that it's got mayonnaise in it.
Yep. When I was a wee young lad, ketchup was the one thing that I didn't like. And I don't know why, because like I loved things that had ketchup in it, like homemade barbecue sauces. A lot of them will use ketchup and stuff.
Oh
But
yeah.
ketchup plain, I'd never cared for.
What changed then? What changed? Do you like ketchup now?
I mean, not particularly, but I'll if you hand me a burger with ketchup and mustard on it, I'll eat it.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh no, I can't eat this. It's just like,
It's not like the end of the world.
no. Maybe it's more of a I'm very much a value for my money kind of guy. Like, you remember when big name restaurant that did $5 footlongs?
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, I would get all of the veggies on that bitch. My $5 is going forever, and you can't stop me.
Yes, it's going to be something you can't even fold over.
Yep.
Man, you have any other foods that you might have come across for Alabama?
1 second here, because there was one that did catch my eye. Oh, back a page. So, Alabama, you may not think of this, but it's rather close to the Gulf. And one of the other popular foods is fried oyster tacos.
See, I didn't think that tacos would be the popular stuff, because I just don't see Alabama as having a huge like Spanish influence.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, hit me. What's the fried oyster tacos, man? I can see how it would fit in, because I mean the Gulf Shore is right there. Any type of fish, any type of seafood that's coming from the Gulf, awesome. But when I was in Gulf Shores, I didn't see a whole lot of Spanish influence. So the tacos kind of feel like it's a little out of place, but shit, I mean, you can probably do like fried oysters, anything dealing with seafood, and you're still there.
Right. Yeah, you would think maybe something like this for like a Louisiana, where it's got more of a
A bayou thing, yeah.
Well, a bayou thing, but also like a heavy French influence. And if they eat
Oh,
escargot, you would expect them to like, let's do oysters on this.
yeah.
But essentially, all I'm seeing is one of the popular ways to do it is do a fried oyster taco with a citrus salsa,
That
which,
sounds pretty good.
yeah, you just use whatever citruses you want, you know, like your limes, maybe some mango in there, or some like, not the orange, but the tiny orange. You know what I'm talking about?
Clementine.
Yeah. And then like, your chili, some scallions, cilantro, lime, got your sea salt and pepper. And then for the fried oysters, you just do oyster, egg, buttermilk, cornmeal, salt, pepper, and coconut or vegetable oil. And then you can do tacos however way you would want. Make the salsa, and then you fry your oysters up so they're fried oysters at least. And then you just assemble it like a taco.
Now I know this isn't Alabama related, I guess, for this question to you, and we kind of talked about Cinco de Mayo's a couple weeks ago, a couple episodes. But with your tacos, do you do flour or corn?
I prefer corn.
See, I like the flour, man. You can have a little bit more give. You can stuff it a little bit more, and but if you
Well,
bite it wrong, it's not gonna chip your tooth.
let me rephrase this. I prefer corn, but if I'm making tacos at home, I generally go with the wheat or the flour based tacos, like you said for your reasons.
Yeah,
But if I'm at like an authentic Mexican restaurant, I always want to try their corn tortillas because it seems like no two places have the same recipe for it.
okay.
And it's just, especially if you do like one of my favorite things to get from actual like Mexican food places is their street tacos, just because they're super simple. I know I'm gonna like it, and you can get a bunch for a little bit of money,
Yeah, that's right.
and some of that and maybe some sangria to go, and you're out to have yourself a good night. Plus,
Cool.
if you want to try, like, kind of, say, for instance, we were at this one place and they had mahi mahi tacos, they had barbacoa tacos,
Yep.
um, pollo loco, and several other ones, and I got like five of them, and all of them were different, and they all had their own merits that held up on their own, which was really nice.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to get a taco episode in one of these days. Then
Mm-hmm.
we can go more into depth about the different styles. But I know that for moving on with the Alabama stuff, dessert. I mean, it can't go wrong with dessert. So I know that you found one. Did you find a pecan one?
Pecan pie, one of the most popular desserts in Alabama.
Okay.
Did you find something to contradict my theory on this?
Um, yes and no. I also found that as being a popular thing, but I found the Lane cake is basically one of the most famous cakes in Alabama, and it actually is considered one of their like the state cake. So essentially, a Lane cake was from Emma Lane. She's from Clayton in Barber County, and it's a white sponge cake that has egg whites. It consists of 4 layers, and it's filled with egg yolks, butter, sugar, and the hint here is to get the raisins that have been soaked in whiskey.
Ooh.
So it's typically served in Alabama for birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, like other special occasions. Um, and apparently, this person, Emma, she went to Columbus, Georgia, and wound up entering her cake into their fair and wound up winning first prize. And she originally called it the prize cake,
Hmm.
but people around her were saying, you know what? Hey, maybe you should make it to lend to your own name so that people can kind of remember you by. and she took it. So she just called it the Lane Cake. So I found that to be interesting, but I guess her recipe states that the cake is got to be baked in a pie tin lined with ungreased brown paper, and that she specifically in the recipe says that 1 wine glass of good whiskey or brandy, and you fill that so that the raisins so that they can be seeded and finely chopped, and that's going to be your hint of your how to make a good lane cake. So I guess a lot of people have kind of modified it over the years. Some people have had coconut, some people have added things like dried fruits and nuts, and I guess it really comes down to whatever you want to do. But you don't have to have the whiskey or brandy in it if you are not, an alcoholic type of person. But for
Not
me, I
scared of
always feel
fun.
like that stuff winds up baking off anyway. So it leaves the flavor, but you're not going to have the alcohol. Not like a tiramisu or something where it's going to be kind of soaked into those. I
Right.
feel like if you're baking it in a pie or a cake, it's going to wind up baking off. But
Yeah.
I guess in Alabama, it is the cake to be made, and it is one of those ones where every Alabama person is going to have it. So a lane cake.
You ever had a lane cake?
I have never had one.
Hmm. I think next time you visit Alabama, you should order one.
I think that's true. I don't know when that's going to happen, but I feel like if I go back, I'm going to have to find a place that does a lane cake and give it a shot.
You might be able to hit an all-in-one, man. Hit like a place that does, like barbecue white sauce, maybe some fried oyster tacos, and do a lane cake.
There's got to be a place somewhere that would do something similar or within a walking distance, right? Get a nice barbecue joint and then have the dessert and have some other taco place right next to it.
Yeah, you might get lucky and find a food truck with them.
True. So, so the lane cake and the pecans or the pecans, my mother-in-law would laugh at that. She not a pecan.
Is it a pecan?
Yeah. If you can't pecan, you got to pecan, right?
Yep.
Um,
So all this talk of delicious food, what would you suspect Alabama's drink of choice to be?
I mean, the drink of choice, or from what I have been as a bartender, I mean, it has the name in it, Alabama Slammer,
Alabama Slammer.
right?
That's fair. How do you make an Alabama Slammer, good sir?
It's been a hot minute since I made one of those bad boys, but if I can remember, you're getting yourself some Southern Comfort. You're getting, I think it's vodka Southern Comfort, some OJ, and some pineapple juice. I think that's close to it, but don't quote me on that one. It's been a hot minute since I've gotten behind a bar and made an Alabama Slammer. So
That's fair. So I found some contradictory reports on this. One of them was super biased because when you look at the map, there's only 4 brands on that map, and I believe all of them are made from the same company. So the main bargain bin beer, if you will, for the state of Alabama, I found was Budweiser.
okay, so this is beer then, not liquor.
Right.
Okay.
Now, however, I pulled up the top beers from Alabama, and if you know anything about Budweiser, it's not any of these kind of beers right here. These are all imperial stouts and or barrel-aged bourbon stouts. So, long way from your Pilsner of Budweiser, or lager, I would assume, right?
It should be a Pilsner.
Okay. So let's go over these top 5 here. Westbrook Mexican Cake Imperial Stout. It's bourbon barrel aged. Founders Imperial Stout from Founders Brewing Company. A Westbrook Mexican Imperial Stout Maple Bourbon Barrel. So that's Same as number one, just with a little sweeter taste. Trappist Rochefort 8, which I'm not really sure what that is. Number 5, we got a Stone and Joy by IPA. Number 6, an Iinger Celebrator Double Bock. Number
But
7.
are any of these actually breweries in Alabama?
That's what I'm trying to find out.
Yeah, some of those I don't think are in Alabama. They
It
might
just
just be.
says these are available in Alabama.
Yeah, I don't. I was thinking more of like what would be the like an Alabama brewery or something along those lines that would be popular. Because I get it that like the Mexican Imperial Stout and that other stout, whatever, or you're getting a lot of darker beers
Mm-hmm.
are pretty popular, but I don't know if they're all part of Alabama. Like if one of them was like, oh, it's a brewery in Alabama, then okay, I totally understand that. But I think it just might be popular beers in Alabama.
Right. So let's doing some searching right here.
All right. Well, while you're searching, man, I was looking at the liquor side. So apparently Alabama has a little bit of a different thing when they talk about Alabama Slammer.
Okay.
So for them, they actually have what's called a yellow hammer, also known as Alabama Slammer, and it is the alcoholic beverage for the Crimson Tide. So roll Tide if you're over that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess legend has it that it's named after the state bird, and that Alabama back in the 70s, when they were kicking ass and taking names still, it was one of those things that people were drinking a lot of, and that even the head coach, Bear Bryant, he was a big part of that. So it became popular at one of the local bars that's really close to the stadium. It's like the closest bar that you can get. And apparently they sell anywhere between 4,000 and 5,000 drinks at every Alabama home game.
Oh wow.
So the ingredients are a little different than what I talked about with what you think of a normal Alabama Slammer. This one is actually using vodka, rum, amaretto, orange juice, and pineapple juice. So it's kind of more of like a orangey yellow color, and it's different than what your normal one is. But apparently that's the drink of choice for people in Alabama, is to get the yellow hammer, or AKA the original Alabama Slammer.
Right. So good old Yellowhammer and Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
So under that list that I was reading off is beers that are from Alabama. And instead of going through and naming off a bunch,
Yeah, just pick one or two of them.
I thought I would show there's a brewer that on this list of 25 probably shows up anywhere between 10 to 13 times.
All right.
And it's Straight to Ale Brewery. They've got anything from your bourbon barrel stouts. I see some IPAs on here.
Oh, do they have what is it? This straight to ale bourbon something, or a stout? It's
Yep.
got like a devil on it.
It appears to be so, yes.
Yeah, I actually had that when I was in Alabama, because it was super cool as the whole entire play on straight to ale, like straight to hell.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought in the grocery store, I was like, damn, that looks pretty cool. It was only like $10 for a 6-pack. So I picked that up. That's some really good beer, actually.
Was yours maybe called Straight to Ale Stout at the Devil?
Yes, that's what it was.
That ranks number 11 on this list of 25.
Damn. I totally recommend anybody who likes stouts to totally get that beer, because it really is good.
Mm-hmm. I might have to try that.
I don't know. You might be able to find it.
Yeah. So it looks like the most popular 4 on this list from Alabama are Good People Brewing Company.
Okay.
Which they only show up maybe 4 times on this list, but they have the number 1 beer, which is known as Good People El Gordo Imperial Stout. Trim Tab Brewing does a Trim Tab Breakfast Hero, which I'm going to assume that might be like a porter or a stout as well. And then they have Avondale Brewing Company, which looks like they specialize in barrel aged stuff.
Interesting.
So looks like Alabama tends to drink a lot of dark beers.
Minus the Budweiser, right?
Well, minus the Budweiser, but like if you're drinking dark beer on the regular as your go-to, you're probably just taking Budweiser to play beer pong with.
True.
So,
Well, I know that I was looking at more of the liquor stuff, and I found another thing that was actually Alabama, their state. They consider it the state spirit. So to keep on continuing with the history lessons here, Conecuh Ridge whiskey. So it's officially marketed as Clyde Made's Alabama style whiskey. And back in 2004, the state of Alabama actually designated it as the official state spirit.
nice.
So it's kind of funny when you listen to the history of what happened. So this guy, Clyde, he produced a bunch of whiskey, basically moonshining it, right? So he would do basically like 300 to 400 gallons a week, and he would sell it. He'd give it to people, and essentially what happened is that he wound up getting a jail sentence because he was selling stuff illegally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after he died in the 90s, his son actually wanted to find a way to honor his father's memory. So he tried going the legal route of it. Okay. And this is where he had someone from Kentucky, a master distiller, come down, and they said, here's the recipe. I want you to make it. And they distilled it in Kentucky, and they actually drove in spring water from the Conecuh Ridge Spring, and then so that they can distill it with that, and then sent all the bottles back to Alabama for distribution. And that was about that time when the House of Alabama legislature finally voted and said, hey, we're going to make this the official state spirit. So it was sold everywhere for that, and everybody was happy and go lucky. Well, apparently, like 4 years later, 5 years later, the son got a misdemeanor violation for selling liquor without a license, and then he was actually had excessive quantities of liquor in a dry county. So, so when you look at that, the House came back together and they said, we want to repeal this thing and not make it the state spirit anymore because this guy's tainted everything because he's a criminal, whatever. But the funny thing is that the Senate, it never passed in the Senate, so it's still considered the state spirit even until today. And the son is dead now.
Well, yeah.
He died, I think it was 2016. So it's really funny how even the grandson is trying to continue this thing and try to make that more of a, hey, let's keep it as a state spirit and let's keep on doing this stuff. But man, talk about a wild ride of your grandfather starts this shit and he's doing illegal stuff, and then the son tries doing it the legal way and then gets busted for doing illegal stuff, and they're still like, yeah, we'll just leave it as a state spirit, it's all right.
Alabama never change.
Yeah, never change, Alabama. So I've never had that one. I mean, I guess I could, next time I go, I might take a look at it and see if it's actually good. But apparently it's won a bunch of competitions. The gold medal for some spirit awards, international spirit competition. So it's got to be somewhat good. I would hope so.
Yeah.
But I just think the history is super funny,
Yeah.
super cool that this old dude was like, hey, I'm just going to do some moonshine and I'm going to give it away to people and I'm going to throw it into barrels. And actually he threw it into barrels and let it age. He said apparently the Alabama summers, it makes it age quicker. So instead of doing it for a minimum of 2 years in a barrel, you only needed it for one.
Oh, wow.
And so I think I might have to give it a shot next time I'm out that way to see if there's even bottles left. But Conecuh, and it's not even spelled that way. And I actually had to look it up and find out if I said that right. And I probably didn't even say it right, but it's spelled Conecuh.
Huh.
And at first I was like, oh, cone Q ridge whiskey. Yeah, it's cool, whatever. And then I'm like, that's got to be wrong. And I looked up the saying, and it's Kaneka, where you have to have the emphasis on the neck.
Ah,
So, but yeah, so there's some history for you when it's coming to Alabama's state spirit, and it's still there today.
that's some doctoral level knowledge you're putting on us there, Professor.
Well, man, I feel like that's my duty, is to help people educate themselves with the history of the stuff that we talk about.
I think you're right. I think that's a good calling for you.
So, but you have anything else that you think you want to talk about Alabama, or you think we're kind of covering it right now?
I think it's been covered.
All right. Well, if anybody is from Alabama that's listening to this, let us know if we're right or wrong, or anybody, just throw it in the comments and let us know if you learned something today.
Exactly. So
So,
I think we're gonna sign off here, and we hope you enjoyed this episode of Alabama. And let us know down in the comment section if we should keep doing this.
well, look forward to other states. I look
Yep.
forward to the ones that I've lived in. So, I mean, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Texas, those are the ones where I'm going to be like, hey, let's do this. I know this crap.
Right.
So, all right. Well, this is Professor Porkland. I'm signing off with my lovely co-host here.
The Meat Viking.
And stay safe, friends. Enjoy your meat.
Exactly. Later.